Okay, let us try this again. Ah, okay, so we're back. We hope. We don't know how that happened, but here we are.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I don't have my full one. I got the right
Okay, let's hope everybody figures it out. Okay. Hey, I heard my
Yeah, we
voice.
have sound now.
Yay! Gaga says, I can hear. Yay! Hopefully everybody finds us again. Oh my. Technology. The pain.
Software
Yeah.
software issues.
Ugh. Well, at least we didn't crash all the banks and the hospitals and the airports.
Yep. Nope, just a software crash.
Just our computer. So it's like, hey. All right, people hopefully will start finding us. We had a bunch of you guys there, and then we just lost everybody because Julia says, "Hey, I'm happy to hear you today. Hi, Julia. How you feeling? Welcome. Now that we have
Sound
things
back
working
again, yeah.
again." I swear, everything looked fine just before we started, and then it just went.
Yeah. Seems like that program's been a little crashy, considering how many crashes I had trying to get a video made.
Yeah. Great Flower says, "Hey, how's it going? Better now that we can hear ourselves, and you can hear us, and we can see you and whatnot." So, yep. We were supposed to
Unfortunately,
have giant lightning storms last night that never materialized. I was kind of disappointed. I was looking forward to it, but it was better to not have a bunch of wildfires. So that was good for the wildfire people because there's too many fires. Violet says, "Hi, I have sound now. Yay!"
yeah, unfortunately, our streaming software has a few crashing issues. Happens every occasionally.
Unfortunately, but it's actually a nice-ish day out right now. It
Yeah,
looks like the sun is sort of peeking through, so we have sort of we call it partial cloudy, partial sunny.
it's more like just overcast, but it's like it's warm enough and it's keeping it from getting like screaming hot, which it would be if it was not there.
Julia says, "Oh, pretty good. Ups and downs this weekend, but this is just the medicine that I needed. Thunderstorms happening right now here too. All right.
Well, thank you all for being here
Thank you for coming
for our
back."
restart. Yeah,
It's just like, oh my. Life is a series of things. Violet says, "It is a buck moon, they say. Do you have any plans for it?" I did it last night and charging up my amethysts and so forth. So, not anything in particular at this point. No real plans.
Aaron is back.
Yay! Hi, Aaron. Welcome back. It's our false start. I think we can now breathe again. Like, all right.
So that was a problem I was having with that OBS too was all the sound issues.
Right.
It's just such a pain.
Well, we can always look to see if we can find some different software, I guess.
I don't. Time I looked, there wasn't anything better out there for us. We run Linux, so we only have some Windows software that works for us. So we mostly try to use stuff that's on Linux.
Right. But anyway, okay, we're good. And Violet says, "Have you heard any white stag stories that go way back? Native tribes, I think." I remember reading a book called The White Hart, which is a stag. That was a European story, I think. But I know that there are some. Julia says, "Ooh, Linux, well, la di da."
Well, it was honestly just because I got tired of fighting with Windows problems, and at the time we changed over, it actually was better. I'm not sure that that is the case anymore.
But it didn't,
Anyway.
it doesn't have the blue screen of death that
Sure.
the entire
Yeah.
country experienced
Yeah.
just in the last couple of days. So I'm liking that better. But yeah, you know us, we're Maverick. Julia grins. We never just go the normal way. That's kind of part of our nature, personality, profile, whatever. I got good news on Jacqueline. She may not join us. She's in the hospital right now, but she's getting better. And they have figured out some of the issues that she had. And I told her about the spirit. Someone posted. She hadn't seen the comment because she hadn't gone to the community page about the water spirit or the spirit from the water. And apparently that is a spirit from Lake Superior, I think she said, that has
Well, Lake
stayed.
Superior, doesn't it have an attitude?
Yes, la-di-da
Sorry,
for that.
yeah. Sorry.
But she knows the spirit, and she was very happy to hear that, and she really appreciates everybody's energy and so forth. And she might be in physical therapy right now, so she may pop on at some point just to say hi and thank everybody for the energy that they sent her. We're still doing some work with her to try and help things move in the right direction, and at the moment things seem to be getting better, so yay. Beth says hi again. Hi, Beth. Sundrop says hi, everyone. Hi, Sundrop. Beth says love Julia. Beth says love Sundrop. Okay. But it was good. I've done a couple of Reiki sessions with her that seemed to be pretty powerful and effective. So I was glad of that. It's always interesting. Some people you can connect with energetically a lot easier than others. That's just sort of the nature of reality. The way people's energy are, some are just more meshable than others are. I'm sure you've encountered that. And some people you're around and you're just kind of like, ah. And other people it's like, ah, like I've known this person my whole life or something. And you feel quite comfortable. So, what do we want to talk about today? I know the full moon is happening. I saw a very strange astrology reading on this full moon. Somebody apparently has a problem with women and was worried that women were going to be manipulating the out of him with this full moon. And I'm like, okay. I've never seen an astrology reading like that. That was so, I don't know, the imprint on it was so specific, not general at all. Julia says, waves to Violet, grateful, owl, gaga, sundrop. Violet says, can I just make my own magic by making my way up, or do you really recommend another route? I think anything you do is your own magic, no matter what path you're following in the end, but it helps to have, I don't know, some foundation of magical precepts that is known to work, makes them work easier because there's sort of like pathways that have already been developed.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically you can, but um, practically speaking, going that route is like trying to swim upstream versus going along with the swimming downstream. And you can use the masses of energy developed. You use something that's been used by thousands of people or even more over years and years and years. That's got a big mass of energy. Like focus on, and if you're doing it yourself, you have to fill that up, that whole reservoir yourself, and do all that. If you're going to do that, Barton says it usually requires at least 465 repetitions to work at all. So if you're going to make up your own rituals and things, you probably should look at doing it at least 465 times to make sure they actually functional.
And the other thing, like Ian was saying, it's like they are already worn pathways. It's like we've created, it's sort of like a tree in its root system. So, you know, it's going to be much more efficient for the roots to pull the water up than to try and like make your own root from a different tree to do the same thing. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, you can, but I've always found it much easier to. There's a lot of things I do myself, though, but I figure if I do them, I'm going to have to repeat it at least 465 times. And that's if you're focused, very focused every time you do it.
right, which is hard to maintain.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some chants I do on a regular basis, and I can tell the difference when I'm really hearing, seeing, feeling the words versus just
Well,
repeating them.
and once you've done it enough, you find that you're repeating something like that, you find it gets easier and easier, and it starts having all the associations come with it. And if you do it enough, the way this works is if you do something enough, time will come when you no longer have to do the imaginations and visualizations. Do it enough. If it's tied to, like he talks about, rituals tied to a gesture or a movement or a hand position or something, do it enough. Then once you've done it enough, you have that charged up, and all you have to do is make the hand gesture, and then the ritual will work automatically. Ritual, it'll work automatically, but you have to charge it up, at least, and get it. It's almost like, it feels almost like you're making a groove in the universe where it's hardest when you first start. Every time you do it, it gets easier to do, and the things get easier to visualize, and the energy gets easier to move. And yeah, so you can do that. But if you get something that's already really engraved and charged up in the universe,
Slide in.
a lot of times get that. But with the caveat that you have to be in harmony with that energy also. If you want to use something, it needs to be something that works for you, that works for your subconscious, that you're not going to be afraid of using, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that unconscious, subconscious part.
Yeah.
So Gaga says, what's your take on John Ramirez? I've never heard of him.
Apparently, I looked briefly here. It looks like he's some type of evangelist.
Okay. Well, in that case, probably not interested in him because I don't like evangelists, period. Violet
Describes
says,
him as internationally known evangelist, author, and highly sought after speaker. Believers around the globe had a defeat the enemy. Former high-ranking satanic priest shared his powerful testimony of being miraculously saved on his supernatural, the 700 Club. So
okay.
he's just an evangelist. Why would we care about that? We're not
Well,
interested.
Yeah, because he was an ex-Satanist, I suppose.
I don't
But
care.
I don't care.
I don't care. I have no interest in that. They're all screwed up in their belief systems, in my opinion. I have no interest even deal with it at all, to argue it or anything. It's off my plate.
Yep, same here. So I guess that's our opinion. Violet says, hi, Julia. Grateful Alice says, hello, Julia. Beth says, I was outside last night gazing at the beautiful moon. Oh, I'm so glad you could see it. I knew it was there, but we couldn't see it. It was definitely not a clear night last night. Sundrop says, I think I've heard if John references he next witch. We covered that. Sundrop. Violet says, that was very helpful, what we talked about with the energy. Astra says, yeah, they feign moral superiority, but they're anything but. Hi, just got in. Hi, Astra. Welcome. If you had joined earlier, you would have had to join again because we had audio issues and had to restart our computer. So yay, glad you're here. But yeah, I mean, I think that the fundamentalist evangelicals of any religion are dangerous and
Fanatical.
and well, yeah, and that's a problem, in my opinion. And Julia says, "Hey, Astra." Oh no, yeah, that's what we did, but we're here now. That says Astra heart. Yep. So, I mean, if you're looking for somebody to look up to and follow, I would definitely not pick someone who is spending most of their time touting about how fantastic they are, because generally that smacks of a problem with an ego. Anybody who feels they have to pat themselves on the back and promote their worthiness and so forth in a loud voice is got some issues.
I agree, but that is most of America.
Well, let's not talk about
Most
them.
people, sorry. I
No,
wasn't talking political. I was just talking about most people.
we don't.
generally,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in general, It definitely says that there's an ego that's behind it. I was reading a thing on how you can tell if someone's intelligent, signs of intelligence. I thought was kind of interesting. Who knows what these things mean, if they have any validity or not, but one of them was the willingness to let people know if you don't know something. And I liked that one because I certainly am quite willing to tell people if I don't know something, and I don't know everything, and I know that. And Julia says he's against tarot cards. Enough said. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that they're a pathway to Satan. That's why he's against them. Astra says, yeah, most people are insecure. Beth says, we won't talk about them. Haha. We're here to talk about us, right? What our issues are as a general group, individually, etc. You know, how we want to look at the world, or what we want to do with our energy, and how we want to interact with the universe. Astra says, yep, thumbs up.
Yeah, I've been rediscovering lately how much just a walk in nature can help me feel better when I'm really rotten emotionally. Walking around and hiking has always been a big thing for me. Going to some place that's, it doesn't have to be like remote, but it has to be someplace like remote from people that I can't hear or see anybody or anything. That's what I need when I'm out to nature.
Right. Some dude says, I made some cheesecake muffins for my friends today. Ooh, too bad he can't have cheesecake. It's his favorite.
Yeah, cheesecake is my favorite, and I have lactose intolerance. So.
And allergy to milk. Yeah. Not just intolerance.
True. I actually have a milk.
Allergy to the protein. Some dude says, peace, 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 peace back. Trying to maintain a peaceful attitude in your life is a challenge sometimes. One thing you can guarantee that nothing stays the same. Things change. Woo! Sometimes quickly. Astra says, I'm worried about the soul trap theory. I saw a video where a guy noticed that reality was malleable after his NDE.
Near death experience.
He was able to see through walls. Instead, it destroyed ego. But he says people are free to leave. Okay. I mean, I've had a near-death experience, and sometimes I can see through walls, but...
I'm not familiar with that soul trap theory. I'd have to explain.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I'm hoping that's not the Scientology theory that stuck.
Oh, I doubt that.
But,
I have nothing.
Asher says, but he says people are free to leave. So he says, well, my romantic life got a new lease this past week. Oh, good. I hope. Beth says, I'm listening. I'm feeding the cats.
So, soul trap is either a spell that can be cast. Oh, this is a game thing. Sorry.
Never mind. Well, wait for her to explain it. Asher says, I don't know what to believe. Sundrop says, I wanted to take a walk today, but I'm just not motivated.
Oh,
I at least had to force myself out of the house today, but I'm still down. I'm sorry. It's no fun. Sometimes forcing yourself to get out in nature or to do activities can help when you're feeling disconnected. Astra says, I'm just worried about being manipulated. It's the Gnostics.
So this is like something that you can't go.
He basically rehashed Gnosticism. Okay. Well, he's probably looking for a format that he hopes will make people think he's intelligent.
If you want my opinion, if you want the real scoop on death and dying and where your soul goes and that stuff, read Barton's stuff. If you want to learn how it really works, read Barton's stuff.
Yaga says, why do people say they feel a chill when a spirit goes through their body? Why is it cold? Well, I know I've had that experience, and it's kind of hard to explain what it's like to have the spirit of another human being pass through your body.
Do you think it's actually physically cold, or is it a psychic cold?
I think it's a combination.
Okay.
I think that their interaction with the living sucks a certain amount of energy in the in warmth. Um,
Well, there certainly is the idea that batteries go dead and stuff. I haven't
well, right.
experienced any of those things personally myself.
But I have had some spirits walk through my body on occasion. And I mean, it's kind of like you suddenly have, you know, that you have space between all of your molecules and your atoms and everything else. And a spirit is less dense when it comes to that. But there is still something there. There's a certain amount of energy that's present in there that's different from air. And if you suddenly had air inside of your body that went through your body would notice a shift of some kind. So I think that that's probably why. Um, and your body's adapting and making room for this other material to go through that's not supposed to be there or isn't usually there. I don't know, but it's an interesting phenomenon for sure. And I don't think that people are making it up, and I think that it's real. And like I said, I certainly have experienced it. I had the opposite thing happen once, which was quite fascinating. I was on a ghost hunt walk investigation or whatever locally here in town with another group, and it was a place that had absolutely no heat whatsoever. It was cold there. I mean, it was in the 50s or something, and I was sitting on the floor with I think there were three of us, and we were attempting to, feel. I was getting impressions from the spirit, like some kind of a heart attack or something. I was talking when it was happening about the experience of my chest and so forth, and describing the symptoms. And then this warm breath blew on my cheek, and it was like 15 degrees warmer than the air around me. It was very significant shift in temperature. So it doesn't have to go just the one way, apparently. And it was just so clear. I mean, it was like somebody just walked up to me and just went like that, just right on my face. So that was pretty interesting. So changing temperature may be the key, not necessarily just the cold. But anyway, it was kind of interesting. Some dude says at Astra, unless they make something which binds you through personal experience and your funeral rites aren't done, then maybe. I don't know. Magic and alchemy is.
Well, there are other things about, there's the whole thing about uh, like some Udon or Palo maybe stuff. I'm not sure the exact religions, but there are some stuff about trapping souls in containers and things. And I honestly have never investigated that, so that aspect of something is something I don't think about. I don't know if there's validity to that or what.
Yeah, I don't either. It could be that there could be something like that, but in general, the
Yeah,
accounts that I have read, torture is involved,
yeah.
sacrifice and torture to have total control over
Well,
the human
that's like that
spirit.
horrible Palo case where he killed all
Exactly.
those people and then they were
There was
supposedly his slaves afterwards, after death, after he killed them and tortured them, and
there
then
were a couple of cases like that. The guy
part of
in Florida and the one in Mexico.
yeah, I think it's the one. I don't remember long now.
Yeah.
Horrible stuff. I didn't care to read about it. They really were some nasty black magic practitioners.
Yeah, but I think that the chances of that being the case, and I imagine that there are consequences that we just we don't know about at this point, because anytime you like
Yeah, well,
overtly try to control the free will of another being, at some point there will be a
yeah.
consequence for
Well,
that.
and if I had to make a guess, my guess would be this: if I had to make a guess about that type of magic without actually being involved in it, knowing for sure, I would guess if they get any successful results, it's because they put enough energy in it to create their own elemental they think is then the spirit of the being or whatever. And that would be my generic kind of guess without really being involved with it or anything, that they're actually fooling themselves because they're not clairvoyant enough to very well easily make an elemental, charge it up and have it doing your bidding and think you've got a trapped soul. So, but I don't know anything about it for sure.
Okay. Julia says, Yeah, always waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I am not yet to see what Tarot, etc. says. I'm just
Okay.
enjoying the moment. Fluff's hair feels nice. Sundrop says, have you been able to touch a spirit as if they are human, or can they be untouchable? Um, I've been able to feel them. I've had spirits hold my hands. Uh, so sort of. Asher says, I have orbs going through me or coming out of me. It's itchy. I think it's fairies. That says, oh, I've had that experience. I really didn't like it, but I stayed
May,
observant.
may I may I tell a slightly ribald fairy joke?
Okay.
Little guy comes back to his encampment, walking back, and there's two campers there. Comes back into camp after he left, and he's got a really small head now. His head is shrunken, like the shrunken head of a. They did the shrunken heads thing. Guys in the camp are laughing at him, say, "I bet that's the last time you ask a fairy to give you a little head." Sorry,
Yes.
bad joke. What could I say? There aren't that many fairy jokes, you
Well,
know.
that might have actually been in Beetlejuice.
No, it wasn't.
No, they did have a guy with a small head in that.
I don't know if they talk about
I
giving
don't know.
head in the.
I don't know
You
either.
know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Asher says, I'm not sure what you're talking about, some dude. I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about soul trap theory regarding the afterlife. That reincarnation is a trap.
Yeah.
That is Scientology.
Yeah,
I thought that maybe that's what it
yeah,
was, and
is
that
it
is
okay?
Scientology.
Yeah, I'd recommend reading Barden's stuff on that.
It's
Learn
a
learn what it's about.
it's not true. I'm since I mean I have worked on some Scientologists as a massage therapist, and I had one guy who was seriously concerned for me because when I told him I helped spirits cross over into the light, he was very, very upset because the idea of crossing over and going back into the stream and reincarnating, the Scientologists believe that that is how we're being held captive here by the overlord whose name I don't remember, who's in charge of the galactic whatever.
Like Z something.
Yeah, something
Whatever
like
it is,
that,
yeah.
which is a really bad sci-fi story that L. Ron Hubbard came up with, and that's what it is. It's a bad sci-fi plot, and it doesn't have any basis in spiritual reality. I've never really heard or seen anything in my experience that would lend any validity to it except as this notion as a way to keep people stuck, I guess. I don't know. Or to make them feel special that they know something that other people don't, that they're on the inside of some secret. They're here to save humanity, whatever. There's a lot of ego involved in all of the Scientology stuff. So I wouldn't put any stock into it whatsoever, and I wouldn't worry about it. And if you're getting this from a specific group or a specific person, I would just stop interacting and save yourself a lot of trouble trying to figure this out. Because yeah, it's not true. Some dude says so. A servitor with extra steps and dumb actions. Yeah,
Pretty much,
sort
I
of.
think, is what they can. You can. Barden talks about how easy it is if you don't have the proper clairvoyance to think you're talking to a being, actually create an elemental being or something by accident. He talks about people doing that by accident while they're trying to do an evocation. They may not get the actual being, but may actually create their own being, which answers them and they think is doing them service. Not really what they think.
Okay, so Astra says it's Gnosticism's not Scientology. Maybe Scientology stole it from the Gnostics, but they are originators of the theory. Well, whoever came up with it, or however long it's been around, I don't believe it. And it may be one of those things of the idea of trying to leave the planet and not incarnate to become enlightened. Maybe it's on that line if it's the Gnostics, you know, to not have to repeat everything or get stuck here in the physical plane or something like that. In any event, it's up to you where you go, what you do. It's entirely self generated, whether you're going to go to hell, whether you're going to go to heaven, whether you're going to go and spend time with the Valkyrie. It is a self generated afterlife. So choose what you want to believe in. Because if that's where you want to go and if that's what you want to believe, then that's what you'll end up doing, at least for a while. That's kind of the way that works. That says L. Ron Hubbard, which is make up stuff in their original planet. It looks like Earth, but in the 1950s, it's completely bananas.
It is.
Grateful Al says, I have a hard time accepting that Aleister Crowley had a part in creating
Well,
Scientology. He did not.
He didn't. But I'll tell you what, L. Ron Hubbard was involved with the OTO. L. Ron Hubbard was in the OTO. L. Ron Hubbard created a whole big thing, and he stole like the head of the order's boat and sailed off in his boat, and he stole it. And then Jack Parsons purportedly whipped up a storm and drove him back, and so he had a lot of bad contact with the OTO, and the OTO basically kicked him out. And so he started up with a story that he was in the OTO to spy for the FBI or some stupid thing. Yeah, and Crowley absolutely had nothing to do with Scientology in anything I've ever read, and I've read almost everything that's out there on Crowley. Unless it's been written in the last 10 years, I probably haven't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Astor says, I think it's because the planet is so full of suffering that some beings must be manipulating us to stay so we can suffer and they can feed on us. Oh, well, I don't think that is true either, so. I think what happens to your energy is entirely up to you.
No, I still say read Barden stuff if you want to know what happens, and I'm sticking with that.
Great Val says, thank goodness about Alistair. Alistair says, so people think the world wasn't made by a loving God to teach us lessons, but by beings to feed off of our suffering? Well, I don't know. Aren't those both the same thing? Seriously? If you buy into the whole Christian mythology kind of thing, with God created the world, and then he created Satan, and then he created hell, so that he could torture us. And
the negative beings and the demons and things, they don't feed off our suffering. The only things that feeds off our sufferings are our own larvae that we create ourselves through our excessive emotions and things. And then they will feed off our suffering to feed themselves, because they want to continue any bad thing, any like alcoholism or drug abuse or like cutting, anything like that, or feeling bad, any kind of like excessive sexual desires, things like that, anything like that. Lots of emotions can create larvae and things, which will then try to create more of that same kind of suffering in you to reinforce their own existence. But other than that, there aren't just beings out there made to live off the suffering. Not really. It's not, that's not the way the universe.
No, the universe is about creating life and maybe chaos and change in order to make room for new life. But
everything is food for something else. But that whole thing, this whole fight between demons and gods and everything is just all bull. Really, negative beings have to do things that positive beings don't want to. Negative beings might be about destroying things, but they're things that are necessary. They're not evil and stuff. I mean, I'm sure there are a few just nasty beings out there somewhere, but yeah, it's all extremely exaggerated by the religions. There aren't battles between good and evil and that stuff. That's all just bull. Everybody wants war. Everybody in our society wants to be at battle and at war with something, and it's just not the case. The tigers, if they kill an animal, they're killing it to eat. They're not killing it out of maliciousness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Julia says, agrees with Siofra and Ian on this. Astor says, I don't believe it, but I'm thinking about a lot of theories.
I think about a lot of theories too, and that's a good thing. Absolutely. If you don't consider stuff, it gives you a widening of the consciousness, which
well,
is
right. It's always
good
to examine them, absolutely. And then you can determine whether there's something to toss out, so you don't have to think about it anymore. Yeah. And once you've done that, then you're good to move. Okay, so Violet says, I have to change my morning post. I'm off to correct the loop thing. Bye, Violet. Astor says, I was a Christian, so I think it's triggering to hear about that stuff. That's makes sense. It's your own subconscious and unconscious trying to work through stuff.
I spent years and years being triggered by stuff after being brought up that way. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. SL says, hi, Siofra and Ian and everyone. Hi, SL. Astor says, I don't want to be negative or fearful, but I also don't want to be gullible and tricked. I don't blame you. SL says, do you have any tips on how to increase your motivation? Well, find something you actually really enjoy doing. Then you don't have to be motivated because it'll be something you want to do, you know. And if you're having a low day and don't want to do anything, it's okay to take time off. You don't have to be on the go all the time and do things every day or every minute or whatever. You don't have to have a list of things that you must accomplish and be goal oriented and then feel like you're a failure if you don't actually meet those goals. You live in the moment, live in the now, feel where you're at, what you need, take care of yourself, and then motivation will happen if you need it, I guess. I mean, it's an experience being in a life. There's no doubt about it, and it's got all these nuances and so forth going with it. And a lot of the things we have problems with are things that we stick on ourselves. We put something on ourselves and say, I have this image of who I should be. I'm going to stick that on myself, and then I'm not going to meet my image, and then I'm not doing it right. It's like this whole thing. I don't know. It's not easy. So good luck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I need to increase my own sometimes. So yeah.
Astra says, laugh out loud, Ian. It is bull. So it's like Shiva and Shakti.
Yeah, I like that attitude a lot better. They're in a way they're sort of opposites, like male and female, but they're considered as one. Um, and they'll tell you that Shakti is Shiva, even though Shakti is Shiva in manifestation, and the Parashiva, Paramashiva anyway, is Shiva in potential. Shakti is that energy, that manifestation. But it's always one does not exist without the other. They're together and they work together, and that's, I think, a much better picture of the universe.
Yeah. Astra says, oh my God, I do that to myself when I don't meet goals, but I'm trying not to judge myself. It's a trap. Now there is a trap. A real one that we create on our own. So yeah. I don't think we need to look to the Gnostics to come up with a trap, right?
Yeah. So Gnostic stuff is interesting. Not that I know anything about it, but I've always had a little bit of interest in it because
Yeah, David was really interested in the Gnosticism.
I'm only a little bit.
Actually, it was the Essenes he was interested in, so never mind, they're different.
Yeah, I'm just interested in anything I feel I can pull a little magical knowledge out of it, really, honestly. And even though I say stuff about, I'm not a fan of the Christian religion, but I still dig things out of the Bible occasionally because there's stuff in there that not that I certainly don't. Well, anyway, enough of that.
All
Sorry.
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I guess the whole point of this little bit of a discussion here is to pay attention to your needs and how you're feeling. If you have to push yourself, be doing it for a good reason. I mean, like life and death. I can say that would motivate me anyway. So if it's in the middle of a crisis, it's like that's what you do. But yes, it is kind of an interesting thing not to have like plans, lots of plans, and so forth, and just try to be in the life that you're in and figure out what the current moment requires and try to be there in it. It's always interesting to see what the universe brings up. I was thinking of doing another video on spirits and how they get stuck and so forth. I was going to do one this week, but then other things kind of happened, so it didn't happen. Then the problems with the OBS software too, I'm sure it didn't help.
Yeah, I had a video that I was trying to make over and over again that
Some dude says, is there any magical way to increase brain plasticity besides not eating carbs, neurorehabilitation exercises, and the like? Well, I mean, if you're meditating and you're thinking about different ideas and you're exercising your mind that way, that helps with neuroplasticity. I mean, the whole point of neuroplasticity is your ability to change how you think and how you perceive the world and reality. That's part of it. And they talked about that in I was reading a medical thing on psilocybin and some neuroscientists and so forth who actually did MRIs, active MRIs of what their brain was doing when they were undergoing large doses of psilocybin, and it really seriously changed the way the brain worked and rearranged a lot of the neural activity. Not that that's necessarily the only way for sure, but it's sort of interesting that that's one of the things that they talk about is the ability to recognize that your mind and your brain can be different and have a different perspective on things, and opening yourself up to that possibility is the neuroplasticity. So I don't know if that's magic in particular, but
Yeah, I think just sorry to keep mentioning Barton so often, but those exercises, those type of exercises, mental mental exercises that you do.
SL says, so true. Thank you, Siofra. You're welcome. Sometimes I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. That's for sure. But you're getting me, so, if you don't know what you're probably going to be getting, you shouldn't be on this channel at this point. We have, I think, by the end of the show, probably reached 14,000 subscribers. We were 2 away when we started, so I suspect that by the time we're done, we'll have 2 more subscribers on our channel. It's kind of cool to actually see it just grow and new people showing up and hopefully getting good information.
Wow, I accidentally
that's helping.
Accidentally left, but
Okay. Grateful Owl says a cold shower can invigorate the mood. I wouldn't go cold though, just lukewarm and maybe decrease temperature in small amounts if you want. I feel better this way compared to having a coffee.
yeah, that's one of the things. I pretty much go for most of the stuff in Barton's stuff, but his first book he recommends starting out with cold showers all the time, and it just never worked for him. I'm too cold sensitive.
And you have to work with who you are and where you're at and
Well,
what your
yeah.
body is and what it needs and
Yes,
so
that's
forth.
a perfectly valid point.
Yeah. So, trying to torment yourself into submission is not a good approach. Although
Not at
there's
all.
plenty of people who do that. You think of the
Yeah.
ascetics, not eating, and the people that whip themselves because they're bad and they need to torture themselves to make up for it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, do something nice for somebody would be a better way of making up for whatever it is you
Well,
did.
not only that, but that's just a way of torturing your subconsciousness and sending yourself to like somebody said, sending yourself to your own personal hell through
Yeah.
your thoughts and actions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Astra says, nice, congrats. And Shay says, wow, 14,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Shifa and Ian. Thank you. Yes, we're always surprised. At 13, I was pretty excited because it's such a good number, 13,000. But hey, 14 is good too. Aga says, do you believe in breatharians? Oh, God. Okay, people who don't eat or drink. I have a story about someone who claimed to be a breatharian. Who lived in Santa Cruz, California. I didn't meet them. This was after I left, but he was very much into the breatharian thing. And, I understand the appeal in the sense that, prana breathing, breathing in chi, life force energy, and so forth, in some weird theoretical way, you might, you would think that you might be able to get enough nutrients, energy, or whatever directly so you don't have to kill anything except all the bacteria and the viruses that you're breathing in. But hey, we'll give them a pass.
Yeah.
Well. And there have been a couple instances that I've read of one woman in India who apparently didn't eat, and there's evidence that she didn't, and it works.
Well, that's the thing. There were just a couple of cases.
Very rare.
Yes.
But the guy in Santa Cruz, he promoted himself as this, and his followers were like, trying to comply with all these notions, and then someone caught him at McDonald's.
Well, the first thing is, if you're declaring yourself a breatharian, you're putting out a title for people, so you're saying it to impress people to start with.
Right.
So that's the problem. But there was a pretty well documented case of an Indian guru who lived in I should learn how to pronounce it. Calling him a guru, correct? Because unless you have disciples, you're not a guru. So, but he did sadhana and lived in a cave, and he would drink like a quart of milk a week. That's all he lived off. had some water source, some natural water source that gave that he drank water out of, and so lived off very, very little. But you have to consider also that the people who have actually done that and lived off very, very little like that also usually spent hours and hours in meditation, so there's very little body movement to the point where if they're in samadhi, your breathing almost stops. So your body is almost
Suspended
yeah,
animation.
in a suspended animation or almost a death-like state to start with most of the time. So you really need very little. So I think it is possible, but I don't think anybody who's promoting it and giving it a name is going to be capable of actually succeeding at it myself. I think it's unlikely because though there have been cases, they've been very, very rare and very exceptional, very spiritual.
You think of like the 7 billion people or 8 billion people that are currently on the planet, maybe there's one. So, I mean, more realistic goals, I think, or something that's within our abilities instead of torturing ourselves completely. So Astra says, I take cold showers sometimes, but not all the time. It can put stress on the body if your anxiety is high. It's not nice to do that to yourself. Yep. And Grateful Al says it's only torture if you don't want to do it. But that's why I said decreasing temperature in small amounts so you're not shocking your system. I've never made it
No,
to full cold.
that's actually perfectly valid. You
Yeah.
know, if you give your body time to adjust, then it's not a big deal. When I first told Siofra that I wanted to do the lotus position for at least a half hour a day or something, she laughed at me. She thought I was joking. She laughed because she actually thought I was joking. But now I sit in the lotus half hour a day, twice a day, every day. It's just a matter of I don't recommend it for people unless you watch a video on how to do it for not tweaking yourself out. But it's just a matter of letting your body adjust to it. Your body will adjust over time to almost anything. So yeah, asceticism doesn't have to be torture, but a lot of people treat it that way.
Mm.
Asceticism is basically, everybody's probably familiar. They don't need.
Okay. Astra says, what about the crystalline body activation where you transform from carbon base to crystal? No sense to me. I mean, I don't understand why. I don't see the purpose in it. You want to be a rock, I mean.
I got a better idea. I'll tell you something that actually works. You can mummify yourself while you're alive.
That's true. A lot of
you do it by eating pine pits
pine
and things. Yep.
pine needles constantly.
Yep, it's a special diet. You want to mummify yourself while you're alive? Just look up how to do that. I think they ended up making it illegal because so many people were trying to do it.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it
Japan.
was China or Japan.
I think
or what,
it was
but
Japan. Yeah. But yeah, I don't see the purpose because, yeah, I really can't see the purpose. I don't think that being a crystal is a higher life form or a better life form. It's a different
Yeah, no,
life form.
Honestly, that's just I don't know where that comes from, and I don't know anything about it. But it's just
Physiologically,
it's
it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I don't.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that ended up with the that cults think they're leaving in a spaceship and taking.
Oh, the hail
Yeah,
boppers. Yeah.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
The
weird
idea
kind
of becoming in a more refined body kind of a thing.
Well, that idea that things, taking things that make no
Heaven's Gate.
physical sense and like, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but yeah.
Asher says, I noticed gold like dust in the air when the fairies are in the air, and I did notice sparkles on my skin. Pixie dust is real. Yeah, I know. I had a full body exam for, moles and cancers and things like that. And this doctor found glitter between my toes. And I'd taken a bath. I mean, preparing for this kind of an exam is not something I take lightly. And I'm like, what? He says, yeah, you got glitter right between your toes. I'm like, oh, those fairies. It's driving me nuts. Okay. Astor says, but it wasn't coming out of my skin. And isn't that how bears hibernate? They eat those and make a butt plug and go to sleep. I'm not sure. They hibernate. They don't completely go out, but yeah. I'm not familiar with exactly how they do that, but I do know in the winter they will wake up.
Okay, so we have to be careful with that the butt plug thing because we're starting to get warnings from YouTube.
Oh, okay, so bad.
Yep.
Even though it's not really meant like that. Aga says, I hear about some witches being able to shapeshift into animals back then. Is that true? I've never met anyone who can do it.
Yeah,
I can combine with an animal's consciousness and I can roam as an animal, but I wouldn't call that transformation.
there's all the shapeshifter stuff with the skinwalker stuff
Right.
and that, but
And
yeah.
again, physiologically, from a scientific point of view, A, it looks painful if it's done, and B, I'm not sure exactly what the point is or the mechanism.
I will say though that it is possible to, if you're out astral traveling, to change the shape of your astral
Oh
body.
yeah, your
People
body
learn
can
how
be
to do,
anything
yeah,
just about. Well,
yeah.
when I'm in the astral, my hair is so long. I saw my astral form one time, and my hair goes all the way down almost to my feet. It's very flowy, like I'm in the water. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so Julia says, kind of getting the shivers about mummifying oneself in the crystal. Well, I'll pass on that in this life. Maybe come back as a smoky quartz in the next. Yeah, could be interesting. You
It'd
never
be nice if we
know.
could choose.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That
And
would
then
be a,
choose who gets to carry you around, right? Or where you get to sit. Asher
oh,
says,
that's asking for trouble.
oh,
Sorry.
Asher says the point of the crystalline structure is to carry more source energy without dying. Why is dying a
Yeah,
bad thing?
I don't know. I honestly, I hear things like that and I think it's something somebody just.
I think so too. Beth says, I love pixie
I could
ducks.
be wrong. I could always be wrong. I mean, I'm not. I'm one person that knows for sure,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I can be always wrong.
So, Asher says the pixies wanted you fancy for the exam. Yeah, I know. I'm just like, I don't have any glitter in my house. Julia says, sorry. Oh, sorry. Astra says about the warning. Yaga says, how real is voodoo doll magic? Does it really affect other people's bodies? It can.
And it depends on how effective it is how effective the practitioner is at doing it.
And how weak the
But
person who's
yes,
being attacked might be if it's an attack doll.
but if you flip that around, it can be highly effective for healing people, and you can make one of yourself to heal yourself and work on the doll, and that as a proxy or for somebody else. So I'd say flip it around. In our stuff, we call it a poppet. Go with that, and we healing. If we're going to heal somebody, we might put their name in it. You know, if they're willing to give a picture of themselves or a sample of their handwriting, that kind of thing. So we use them for healing people. They can be effective if you know how to link them. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a whole video on poppets, making your own poppet and what they can be used for. I mean, it's like anything
Yeah.
else. The
And of course,
doll,
how far it affects down to physically affect a person also is going to depend entirely on the effectiveness of the practitioner and how much they know about the subject.
yeah, when I had a witch who was, she was getting her information from Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible and was having my friend do curses and stuff on me, which didn't work. But she got mad at me because I helped my friend get away from her and her sister. And she did three dolls, one for me, one for my son, who was a child, and one for my husband at the time. And it worked on my son and on my husband at the time. It didn't work on me. But I got the warning and I saw the dolls and I knew what was happening. And so I took steps to protect my family. And it's like, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like the things that I know how to do, I don't know I know how to do them until I need to know how to do them. And this was one of those things. I'd never done anything like that before. Well, actually, I did once before. That was in Toronto. But um, when I saw the image of the dolls hanging with the needles in them, I knew what was happening, and I got sort of a mental, energetic signature, I guess. Like everyone's energy is like an individual fingerprint, no two are alike. And so I sort of kept that in mind and waited. And then one day I was standing in my kitchen and I suddenly felt this person's energy. But I didn't know who they were until later. And when I felt them, I followed that trail of energy and saw that it was this woman. and I bound her and cut her off from the magical realm, from her abilities and stuff, probably permanently, um, because she was really doing some nasty stuff. And what was interesting was as I was finishing doing this thing, just before I completed it, I became aware of what was happening. I felt that sudden awareness, and then I finished it, and then there was nothing there. So it was done. And it's there's just so many different potential, and the ability and the energy of the practitioner, their passion that they might have about the project, how much they might hate somebody if they're doing baneful magic, and then the natural protections that the person might have of their own that could get in the way. But it is an interesting thought. I mean, I was thinking about that. It's like, I don't know what I can do until a situation arises, and then I need to be able to do something specific, and then all of a sudden I have access to that, and then I use it. I'm not running around trying to do that to people, except as the need arises. Hopefully, doesn't arise very often. Asher says, I didn't think of anything bad as that bad. I heard the bear thing in the Discovery Channel, didn't know it had a bad
Not
meaning.
the bear thing, but that exact
Phrase, apparently.
is used to describe sex toys. So that's, I'm sure, why the issue.
I didn't get the warning. He got the warning, so because he's the
I'm the
monitor.
moderator.
Yeah, he's the moderator, and it says, "Woo, watch out." So Beth says, "I've had some amazing astral projection journeys. My hair is very long with long flowing gown and much younger. Yeah, I know. Isn't that fun?" Denise says, "That is a lovely color on you, Siofra. Thank you. Purple is one of my favorite colors." Astra says, "Sorry, I think." Yaga says, "Have you heard of blood magic? They say blood is somewhat powerful when added to your magic." Everyone has heard of blood magic. This is not a new subject. And well, blood is a vital essence, and yes, but there's other fluids. There's like spit. There's menstrual blood. There's there's any number of different kinds of bodily secretions and so forth that you can use to charge and identify a magical project with. You don't want someone else getting a hold of it. If you're using your own blood and bodily fluids, it needs to be for you and you alone. Because if ever there's a thing that's going to have your signature energetically, that's going to be it. So, not like good, bad, just depends.
Yeah, a lot of practitioners use it to link their own tools to them to make a really strong link with them, things like that. You want to goal for healing yourself?
Yeah.
Drop your blood in it.
Yeah. And certainly.
And don't take you like they always show in the shows.
Don't do it like on TV.
Put the knife in your hand and slice your whole palm down.
Yeah, you know how long that would take to heal?
A little needle and a drop of blood. A drop of blood is incredibly powerful for your own blood for something like that. So all you need is a little drop. You don't need like
I don't even like doing that. I like my fingers. I don't want to poke them. They don't like it.
Until you reach a certain age, you have a natural source of blood that occurs once a month, and it's as good as any other blood for the purpose.
Menstrual blood is definitely pretty powerful. Yeah. So Grateful Owl says, in indigenous beliefs, the woman on her moon cannot participate in any spiritual practices because she is more powerful due to being closer to the Creator at this time. Yes, she is more powerful because she is cleansing, and forces are going through her and leaving her body, because the womb is basically like an airlock for the spirit world and the physical. It's like that's where it happens. Like you create a body there, and then a spirit comes in from the other planes and enters into the body. So it's kind of like a super special potential area in all human bodies. It's like the doorway for life to appear and take on physical form. So yeah, absolutely. Astra says, "Holy heck. And you can spellbind someone? That's some high-level astral police authority." Yeah, I mean, I didn't do it because I did it because I had to. It's like she's attacking my son, and he is like 2. It's
Yeah,
like
I
really,
take,
seriously,
you
not
know,
okay.
I take anything, I mean, seriously, really seriously before I do anything like that. I had to, unfortunately, do something small to my crazy sister. I'm not kidding about crazy. She's literally crazy. Um, Schizophrenic, and she's psychotic and living out on the street. It took me months and months and months, like years even, to finally decide to do something to try to stop her seriously. Because first I went through everything we could possibly come up with to help her. So even binding somebody, I take even, you know, I take it very, very seriously myself because I could be screwing up my own karma good if I'm not sure it's entirely justified.
Yeah, we think things through. But I mean, it was just one of those things. It's like I can do it. I did it, and bam. The time I did it before, I was at a hostel in Toronto, Ontario, and for some reason, someone sent this sort of demon-shaped kind of being or whatever out after me, and I did not know who it was again. I had no clue. And I was trying to figure out why is this? I don't know what this thing is, why it's here, what's happening. It's not okay. I don't like it. I don't want it. And I was in Chinatown and walking around a shop, and I looked at a statue, and it looked just like the thing, um, with the teeth and whatnot that I'd been seeing. And so I used that as a link, the link to what I had seen, and then to send it back to the person who sent it to me. So that was not as intense.
And, I might add a little thing here that there are beings who kind of oversee that kind of stuff. And while people are allowed to do the magical abuse to a certain extent, after a while they will be stopped eventually, one way or another. They're not necessarily, I'm not talking like astral police or something, which is an entire another subject, maybe. But there are beings in control of certain things that, let's say, they prevent a person from trashing their own karma too much unless they're really just like bad people. There are beings that try to help. They try to keep you from trashing your karma to a certain extent. I guess I'm kind of getting off the subject a little
Beth says
bit,
a
but
blood sugar tester is very convenient for a drop of blood.
it's true, yeah.
And there are
Don't
some people who
slice
do
your
that
palm
every
off.
day, like more than once a day, and I
Oh,
feel
I
so
wouldn't want
sorry for
that.
them fingers. It's like, oh no. And Grateful Owl says, I love that analogy, Siofra, our womb being an airlock. Yeah, yep. Astra says, well, that's what she gets. What a creep attacking a little one. Uh-huh. And Violet says, I never left. I just fixed it while I was with you the whole time. Oh,
Okay,
good.
cool.
So happy. That says, I'm okay with it for magical self defense. Well, I believe in self defense. I know this whole idea that in order to progress, you have to be totally pure, never do anything negative, never say a harsh word, or, have a bad thought. It's a process being alive, and it's, again, the goal thing, right? Trying to reach a goal that's not attainable and frustrating and everything else. So, but I seriously believe in self defense, and I don't go around trying to find people to attack. I don't care what most people are doing. They're destroying their own lives. Most of the times I've seen stuff like that. I'm like, they're doing a really dandy job
Yeah,
all on their own, punching themselves in the face and shooting themselves in
yeah.
the foot.
And you know what?
So they don't need any help from
It's
me.
a really, to me, it's a really pain in the ass to have to defend myself and stuff, and I hate it, and it's really annoying, so I prefer not to. I mean, there's very few things that come along anymore that magical action, most of them bounce off me anymore, which happens to you with just time and practice.
And good boundaries,
You build
magical
up, yeah.
boundaries.
But it's so annoying,
Yeah.
What an annoying waste of time to have to spend a bunch of time to protect yourself from some jerk when you got so many better things to do with life.
I had to quit a light workers group on Facebook. They asked me to join. I said, okay. Then I looked at the rules, and you're not allowed to send energy back to people because that's like an aggressive negative assault on somebody, you have to take their negative energy and ground it yourself and leave them all free and clear so they have no consequences, in
Yeah,
my opinion,
well,
for their actions.
that's if you ask me, that's evading. That's short circuiting somebody's karma. And if you
Yeah.
do that, you're only making it worse for them. That karma is there, each individual. It's there to learn from it. So if you deprive somebody of the karma, you're depriving them of a learning experience that they need to learn, and they'll just have to undergo it somewhere else.
Well, if somebody does bad behavior, whether it's socially bad behavior, magically bad behavior, whatever it is, and the people around them allow them to get away with it or even reward them for it on one level or another, they never learn the lesson that this isn't an okay way to be. They
That's
just
true.
keep on
If
doing it.
it's
They're actually encouraged to continue their bad behavior when they don't have any consequences. That's my opinion for sure.
yeah, that karma will just keep coming back because in most cases the karma is due to the actions of the person. Well, if it's karma, due to the actions of the person or karma.
Right.
Because things happen to you that are not karma. That's the thing. Not everything that happens to you is karma. Some stuff is just random stuff.
Accidental,
Yeah,
non.
but yeah, but if they don't learn the lesson, then they'll just keep doing the act that created the karma. So you're actually doing a person harm if you interrupt their own karma. But I'm going to add a little caveat to that. That if you see somebody that needs help, help them. Don't say, "Well, I might be harming your karma by helping you." No, that's the wrong approach to take. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
Because who do we, how do we know for sure?
Yeah.
And besides which, it's our decision to determine how we're going to act in the world. And even if it turns out not to be helpful in the moment, it may be helpful down the road and you don't know it. I've met people that I've known that I knew like 30 or 40 years ago that I did not know I helped just by trying to be a
Yeah,
kind
you know,
person.
if you're helping somebody up from a bad place, that's one thing. If you know it's their karma and they should experience though alone.
Yep. You have to decide for yourself what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So Astra says, good, I'm glad that we have beings looking out for good people. And yeah, you got to protect yourself if someone is attacking you. I just can't believe people do stuff like that. I agree. It seems like such a waste of time and energy when it would be better spent dealing with their own stuff, becoming a better person instead of running around attacking other people. It makes no sense to me. And Beth likes that, Astra, she says, is laughing. Juanita says, I don't know. I feel like a return to sender is fair protection reflection. If they can send the energy, they need to be able to take that exact energy right
Well,
back.
yeah,
I
actually,
agree.
and I've been doing it. I used to make myself like a reflective shield around me to reflect it back, but I've been doing it a different way now since I've working with the Akasha a little bit. Kind of make yourself invisible to the energy and just let it go through, and then it goes back to the sender
Anyway,
automatically. And
yeah.
it's their own energy. You've added nothing to it. It's just their own doing entirely. But reflecting works.
Astra says, y'all don't play. I love these stories. Denise says, I like concept of love and light. I just don't understand why some people are jerks just because. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's
I mean, really, there's so much we could accomplish as a species if we were not spending time attacking everybody else because we feel insecure or whatever the reason is, which is incomprehensible to me because I don't feel it. It's such a waste of energy and time and effort, and you know, who knows where we would be if we were doing that instead. Yaga says, I think magic is useless if someone is coming for you physically. I
well,
think
you know
that
what?
depends.
Well, that depends. For example, Barton gives a formula. I happen to know it off the top of my head. It's the Kabbalistic formula, the E and the N formula, that can paralyze any being, including human beings, beings with bodies, and non-physical beings. So there's a formula that can protect you right there on a physical plane. You just have to work your way up to being able to do it.
And then, of course,
It depends entirely on the power of the practitioner.
and when someone is physically attacking you, if you're in the right frame of mind in the right moment, you can tap into their subconscious, superstitious fear of magical people and consequences thereof. So, words are powerful sometimes. And sometimes a look is just enough. So, magic is not just the act in itself, it's who you become by practicing it. It's becoming self aware of who you are, where you are, what's happening around you, and so forth. And I agree that magic generally won't stop a bullet. However, being a magical, empowered individual might make you duck, or, you know, who knows, not be in the wrong place at the right time, following your intuition. I don't know how many things I've avoided because I turned somewhere and went a different way, and I'm just fine with that. So Denise agreed with what I said about the love and the light, and some people are jerks. Exactly. Thank you. Astor says, so if someone has a period, it makes you more powerful? What? Well, energetically, it does. I mean, when I was participating in the medicine wheel ceremonies up in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia, that's one of the things that the native people who were putting it on shared with us, was that a woman on her moon, because of that cleansing ability that's happening, actively happening, is more powerful than any of the male shamans that they had. And if a woman is on her moon, then she has to let everybody know if she wants some assistance, so that the shaman or medicine man can decide whether he feels up to it or not. And I know that in a sweat lodge, the reason why a woman on her moon is not supposed to be in a sweat is because she'll take all of the energy for herself. I mean, it'll just all travel through that one person, and it won't be any energy left for anyone else. Why they have special places in a lot of cultures for women who are on their moon. And of course, that got turned around into being unclean and a bunch of other stuff in other cultures, and maybe some of the Native American cultures for a while as well. But an interesting side note is when a woman is on her moon, it changes the nature of her sweat, and her sweat can sour milk. Which is one of the reasons why in some cultures women who are on their moon are not allowed to cook, because they've chemically changed to the point where they can affect the nutritional value of the food that they work with. Not because they're unclean so much, but it's just a fact. And hey, getting a guaranteed couple of days off a month to let other people cook for you, I was definitely on board with that. I was like, yes, I'm okay with that. So, Yaga says, could you use magic to choke people out like Darth Vader? Magic you can use in the physical right away.
Well, okay,
Let's not talk about
well,
that.
okay, I'm going to talk about this briefly, but let's look first. If you wanted to do something like use it to choke somebody out, you'd never evolve far enough to be able to do it. Okay?
Yep.
The very premise is wrong to start with. But let's talk a little more about the EN formula. We're talking the entire alphabet. 2, 3, 4 letter formulas to do things, okay? This is simply 2 letters of the Kabbalah. Not only can you paralyze beings, it'll protect your house against elemental forces, your property against rain and lightning and things like that, hail. Um, you get real physical effects from it. This works because the E is the letter of the Akasha. And when you pronounce it properly, it has a very strong property of condensing things down. So it'll condense something down physically. And the N is watery and has the property of magnetism of water, so it has a strong magnetism. So the E condenses the magnetism right down, and the person is paralyzed, the person or being, if you practiced it enough times. And you have to be able to practice each letter purposely, properly, which is a big deal on its own. And then
In all four
put your
planes,
intent
right?
in it, yes, on all the planes. And you have to do that with both letters, with a feeling, with a particular color or a particular tone associated with each letter. But if you can do that, you can get the physical effects. And let's just say that's one formula out of thousands and hundreds of thousands. And he gives you the key to work with all of them. You can do stuff so much more amazing than trying to choke somebody out like Darth Vader, but you'll never reach it because the Akasha will stop you if you do things like that. So let's quit taking things out of movies. No, you want to learn the real thing. Read the real magical books that have the real stuff in them and learn it. Learn it from Barden. He'll tell you how to do all this stuff. Then it's up to you whether you want to put enough time your own development to be able to do it. If you want to be able to do miracles, it's with anybody's reach. But you got to put in the time and you have to develop yourself, and you're not going to be able to do it without developing and evolving as a person. By the time you're evolved as a person, you won't be wanting to strangle people with magic.
Here, here.
Okay, and so let's get off the movie
Okay.
stuff.
Great Fowl says, just telling someone you read tarot cards will make them think you're putting the abracadabra on them. Astor laughs at that. Great Fowl says, your womb is where creation of another life happens. This is true. Juanita says, if you make yourself a mirror, you're not throwing bad energy towards someone with malicious intent. Rather, whoever throws at you ends up attacking themselves instead, which is entirely on them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Exactly. And that's the way I do it. I have my personal shield is set up so that I have different responses depending on the kind of energy that is coming at me. I don't like send everybody's energy back to them, but I accept positive energy from people, and then send negative energy back. So Astra says that's cool. SL says, wow, Ian, that's crazy and awesome. Is that Hermetics or Kabbalah?
That's Barden's Kabbalah. You won't learn that in regular Kabbalah because they've lost the secrets. I have never found any of the Hebrew Kabbalah where they actually know the secret to pronouncing a word in such a way as to get an actual physical effect out of it. But Barden gives that all. That's why it's called the key to the true Kabbalah.
And that's his third book.
Because it's not Hebrew Kabbalah, it's the true Kabbalah, how you get results from speaking a word, which is way more than speaking a word. They say it has to be the correct pronunciation, but you're pronouncing it with a color, with a form, with a feeling, with elemental attributes, and you have to do this all at the same time that you're putting your intent into it. So basically pronouncing it with all of your personality on all three planes simultaneously. Not an easy thing to reach for a state of concentration.
It is not easy.
Yeah, but that is Barden's Kabbalah.
Yeah, and then he added, is the Kabbalah similar to Hermetics?
It's not the same thing. Kabbalah is specifically word related. Hermetics is an entire magical practice that does not necessarily but does not necessarily include ritual. It can be magical practices, not ritual.
So Astor says, you guys are getting all the questions today. Okay, it's awesome. Violet says, this is really good. It always is. Thank you, Violet. SL says, ooh, okay. Grateful Owl says, remember to like the video, everyone. Yes, it's always good. You can like it more than once. Juanita says, there is no quick and easy way to magic. It takes years of studying, practice, and study of different religions, backgrounds, mythologies. We are all students, always learning. Absolutely.
I've been working at it for years and years, and I still got lots to learn.
And same here. It's like it doesn't matter how long you've been at it or how much you know, the amount of vast knowledge that there is potentially to find out more about is endless, and it's exciting and wonderful, and I love it, and it certainly keeps me interested. I guess that would be my motivation. That's how I motivate myself. I like to learn. I like to, talk about things, think new ideas, and when I'm really specific about something I don't believe in, it's because I have spent a long time thinking about it, looking at it, exploring it, investigating it, and then came to a decision about it. And then I just know that's not something I'm interested in. Kind of like how I know I don't like peppers in my food. I've tried them. My body has rejected them on numerous occasions to the point where I can taste the juice in there if someone takes them out, and so I know it's in there. So it's like everybody is different, and that's how you create your path. Like you decide what is and what is not going to work for you, but it doesn't mean you close yourself off to new ideas or new possibilities. It just means that you have a basis for what works for you and for making informed decisions about your practice, and don't waste time like running yourself in circles in your mind, and boundaries. You're creating your own personal boundaries that way. It makes it a lot easier to travel through the universe. SO says, thank you. Gaga says, could you still practice and study magic as a spirit?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
and it happens, and there, and especially there is our groups, and I don't want to sound like a, well, yeah, basically there are astral classes and things that are out there, and supposedly after you no longer reincarnate on Earth, I mean there are spirits, supposedly brethren of light, that are spiritual brethren, most of which are not incarnated on Earth but have classes and things. So theoretically, I haven't ran into any one of them that
I,
I
uh,
know of.
I know that spirits can practice a lot of different things after they're dead. I ran into a ghost in the basement of a business who was accidentally shot in when it was a saloon and died and hadn't really noticed it much. And he was painting, and just he had an easel and a paint thing, and he was just painting the whole time I was there. And I figure I helped him cross over so he could move on. But I have no doubt that certain spirits specialize in certain things. They get, you can have a lot of different kinds of experiences, but then you might have a few things that are like of more interest to you throughout many lives, not just a couple, like one or two. So, um, and I think that's how great artists, creative geniuses, scientific geniuses, and things, when they're born with this understanding of a certain aspect of reality, whatever the subject might be, then that's probably because they've been studying it as a spirit and they've brought that with them. They may not remember exactly what it is, but they have such an affinity for it that things kind of line up and then they fall right back into it and then it just starts coming out. Kind of like when I am in a situation I've never been in before and I suddenly know how to do something magical that I've never done before and I just succeed. I mean, the many past lives that I've remembered, I've worked for different, goddesses and in different cultures and stuff like that. The ones I remember a lot of those, and I'm sure there's plenty of others I don't remember, as well as the other kind that are not fun, et cetera, et cetera. So Grateful Owl says, "Have a great day, everyone. I'm off to make bannock." Yay! Pilot says, "Thank you, guys. You're welcome." We're going a little bit longer than usual because we had a late start. SL says, "Oh my God, I want to go to an astro class." Astro says, "I'm along with the fairies better this week. They may not be pinching me. I found out the Kundalini energy can give pinching sensations, but fairies pinch too. I told them to knock it off." Good. Thank you. We're proud of you for setting boundaries. Kundalini is something else completely different. But you can do something about the fairy part. Juanita says, "You could also act as a guide to help others." Yep. Astra says, "Fairies are like ornery little kids. I don't know why I like them. Because they're cute and mischievous and sparkly in some cases and interesting and funny looking and there's all sorts of reasons to like them." SL says, "That's so awesome, Schieffer. I wish I could remember my past lives, but I feel like I'm a new soul."
Yeah, I can't
Well,
remember mine yet either. I
but
think
they're
it may
definitely
happen.
I don't think new souls are created all the time. So theoretically, you could be a new soul. Chances are not, especially if you're interested in this subject. That's usually not something a brand newbie is going to be interested in. So I suspect that you have been here before. Gaga says, "Could you still create thought forms as a spirit too and see them better?" Oh my goodness, you can't hide from your thought forms when you're a spirit. That's not one of the good things. Especially when you cross over right away. I mean, when you first die and you have to see all of your thoughts and they're like raw, just exactly how they are, with no filters whatsoever, no buffer between you and them. So yes, you can, and it's not necessarily a good thing. Julia says, "So much knowledge, humor, inquisitive, and helpful vibes going on today. Makes it hard to say goodbye. Love it all. So many thanks for everyone today and for Schiffer and Ian for providing this space. Hugs."
Oh,
Thank you,
thank you.
Julia. SL says, "Laugh out loud." Okay. Esther says, "They are cute, even the ugly ones."
Yeah, I often say that about babies.
Oh, God,
I
yes.
find them mostly ugly, but they're cute anyway somehow. Yeah, sorry.
Hey, we have a new animal in our midst, in our yard, we discovered today. It's a chipmunk. We saw him for the first time for sure. We suspected we might have one, but weren't sure. And he is raiding the seeds that the birds throw out of their feeder that they don't want. And apparently, one of the seeds they're throwing out are sunflower seeds the chipmunk really likes. So he's been digging through and picking out the sunflower seeds, hopping over and sticking them on a brick, one of the wall bricks I have for my front garden, and eating them there. So that was pretty cute this morning watching him bound over. I'm not sure how long he's going to survive because we have a lot of cats in our neighborhood, and apparently we did have a chipmunk once living under our temple, and the cat got him. So I'm pulling for the guy, but it's just wonderful to see little life forms doing their things. SL says, yes, thank you so much, you both, for your wisdom as always. You're welcome. Agus says, same. I got to go to those spirit classes on the other side, or find Toth or Franz. Asher says, oh my God, chipmunks. Yep, they're pretty cute. I liked how he bounded, just doo, 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 doo. Yep. And he was very excited about finding those seeds. It was like, oh, wow, I've hit the mother lode here. Woo-hoo! So, yes.
Well, that's what the mole thinks. We've got a mole that comes up underneath the bird feeder now and he's making a giant mountain there from seeds that the birds toss out of the feeder.
Huh. Yep, so there's just always something interesting going on around.
Lots of animal life for living in town, basically. Or
well, I think partly it's like we close. Our house, our home, our environment, or whatever is attractive and friendly to other life forms. So, and I think that the spirits let them know that we're not going to be running around shooting at them or yelling at them or whatever. So undoubtedly that helps.
Yeah, well, I was really pleased by all the deer I saw.
Yeah, and when you were taking your walk yesterday.
They're pretty mellow and just let me watch them.
Yep, it was really cool. Okay, so I guess we'll get going. We ran over a little bit.
Blessed be everyone. Thank you all for being here.
But not that much. All right. Well, guys, as usual, it's been a blast. You guys like to get me going. And we'll talk to you guys. Yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week. And check in. If you have any questions, you can contact me at, how are my crows? Oh, there were a lot of them today. They seem to be quite happy. And they, weirdly enough, let the jays get most of the peanuts. Like they were just sitting there watching the jays take their peanuts, which was a surprise. But yes, they're great. Beth says we've got all kinds of cute critters around here. They are such a joy. All right, so blessed be everybody. And we'll see you guys next week. And as I was saying, you can send me an email at siofrasmagicalcove@gmail.com or send me a friend's request on Facebook at Siofra Bradigan. All right. Arrivederci.
They kicked over my water on.